As I mentioned earlier, today is the 22nd remembrance of 9/11. I wanted to have a discussion about where we are, and I thought no better person than the gentleman we're about to sit down with. Zachary Bell is a U.S. Marine Corps veteran who served 2 tours in Afghanistan. And he's got an Instagram account called Veteran with a Sign. Zachary, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So
I really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate what you do. Let me ask you. You first went to Afghanistan in 2008. How big of a role was 9/11 in you joining the military?
I mean, without exaggeration, it was the catalyst event of my life and a generation. It's hard to even state or connect to anything like that in these past few years or any before or after, but like it is the moment that is like seared into my brain of when I felt this call to action, this call to serve, and this desire to want to defend my nation.
And how many folks that you served with, especially during your deployments, were in a similar situation where they had joined largely because of 9/11?
I would say it was like almost all of them. Like I remember we had, I was in the infantry unit, so there's like 30 people to a platoon, and 99% of them almost. I mean, I know some of my leadership had come from like recruiting, and they said pretty much from like 2006 to 2012, they didn't even leave the offices. People just showed up like the day they turned 18, and it was crazy. And like it was a whole wave of people that wanted to serve the military, which was, just in time for the troop surge in Afghanistan, which is what I was a part of.
Do you think that while you were there, there was this sense that that what you were doing was making the country safer, that we were actually righting a wrong from 9/11?
All I can speak towards is my own experience. I know on my first deployment, we were in this town called Marja. I mean, not Marja. We were in this town called Garmser in Helmand Province, and there were schools that had been abandoned, and it had been the site of public executions for the Taliban because they didn't want people to gain knowledge and to learn different things. So that was where they held most of their executions in that area. But we were there. We were able to change that environment for them, and the safety and security was so dramatically different than when we got there in the summer of 2008, that like it felt like a better place. Like every day they would come up to us, say how much they appreciated us there, how much they liked going to school, how much safer they felt, and it felt like we were actually doing something for like a greater good.
So what do you think the lessons we should take from both Iraq and Afghanistan from in terms of making us safer in combating terrorism?
I mean, I'm just a lowly infantryman, so
Well,
I wasn't in naval intelligence like some.
No, but first of all, I appreciate your humbleness, but
yeah,
if it wasn't for people like you that go out there and do that, I don't think lowly is the right word for that ever. You sacrificed, and so many of the other folks that went with you did. And I think it's important to understand, because somebody's got to go, and you did. And so I think it's important, if you're going to go do that, lay so much on the line, that there's a sense of fulfillment, that the mission is worth it. And that's what I'm getting at here is, did we learn lessons from there? Did we make the country safer?
I mean, during that time, that from like 2007 to 11, just it felt like we were making a significant impact. I mean, just in the time, my first tour, there was a camp called Camp Dwyer, and I remember it was a solar shade. And when I came back in like late 2009 to 2010, it had Wi-Fi. And so like there was a significant buildup in those years. And I'm not a military strategist. I'm not like schooled up in the ways of the things we've done. I always knew we were going to pull out of Afghanistan. I am legitimately surprised that we didn't maintain some type of presence similar to how we've done in every other conflict we've been in. Like I thought we were going to keep the bases there, to be completely honest.
In the same way, it would have made sense.
It would have made sense. Like, so there was even a Netflix like TV show about this, how in Germany after World War II, we sent cops just from all over, like the best cops we could find, so they could police and stop any like uprising. Because when you have these types of moments where authoritarian powers are moved, it creates a huge power vacuum and opportunity for all sorts of corruption to happen. And like I honestly don't know why we didn't keep Bagram, was a big air base, and the Kandahar airfield base, just in order to maintain some type of presence, safety, and security, to ensure that all the things we had done prior to that moment weren't for naught. So
Yeah, and I didn't want to go there right away, but since you brought it up, because I agree actually. For not just from Afghanistan, but strategically as a check on China. I mean, the weapons that we've left, there's now the Pakistani officials are saying that they've fallen in the hands of the Pakistani Taliban. But knowing that you deployed twice and so many people paid the ultimate price, do you look at how do you view how we withdrew in Afghanistan in terms of the overall mission, that you went out there, all these good things that you talk about that had happened, and then you see the withdrawal, the way that the Biden administration did it. How did that impact your thinking?
Oh, it was, and it still is gut wrenching. Like, without a doubt, the single-handed, like, most greatest thing I've seen, hopefully thus far in my lifetime, of like our foreign policy being enacted. Again, like I think we should have maintained a presence there. We have precedent for Vietnam, Korea, Germany, and Japan. We still have bases there for these exact reasons, in order to maintain some type of posture in the global safety and security of the world. My first mission was trying to learn more about what happened, and I've actually been able to become good friends with one of the Marines who was there, who has testified in front of Congress. His name is Tyler Vargas Andrews. He was there on the ground. He was a sniper. He was injured in the blast. He lost one of his arms and one of his legs, and he's made it his life's mission to talk about this incident and to hold people accountable for what happened. Because, I mean, from his perspective, firsthand knowledge, someone who was running a sniper team, who had eyes on the enemy and had intelligence coming in that could have prevented the thing. He won't let that be forgotten. And I mean, he's someone that I'm proud to know and proud to see how he has made it his mission to make sure that this is not forgotten.
But what does that do to morale and recruiting? If you're sitting there saying, I mean, when you went in, you talk about what I think you said 99% of the people that you were deployed with got in because they felt this desire to serve, and so when you see what happens now, I just gotta imagine that impacts both morale and, secondly, recruiting.
Yeah, I mean, I think we won't really know the implications of it till many years from now, the full implications. But like in the near, close, and far like targets, like when looking at it that way, like it's evident. I mean, I know people who are in recruiting who are, they're having the hardest times they ever had to just fulfill the numbers or their goals they have. Morale seems to be all over the place, branch to branch. It just seems that there's a complete lack of cohesion between like what the military is now and what it's supposed to do. Like in general, the military as a whole is a war-fighting organization, and as we're no longer in a war, we have to prepare for the next one. And it seems that we've lost track of that, in my opinion.
Yeah. Would you feel confident if somebody said, Zachary, I follow you on Instagram, I'd like to join the Marine Corps like you did. Would you tell them to join or not?
Yeah, I would tell them to be an officer for sure, is what I would tell them. Like I am a first generation college graduate. I was able to get a bachelor's, I was able to get a master's, I was able to see different parts of the world and have different experiences that were not available to me otherwise. It taught me a lot about the world and understanding. Like, I'm a person that is eternally grateful for the opportunities I had to be able to travel and see different perspectives and different cultures, because like otherwise you're just kind of dense, in my opinion. Like, I don't feel like our country's not perfect, but in my opinion, we're doing the best we can. And there are other countries that I've visited outside of Afghanistan, and seen things that are like legitimately scary to me. And just the access to change and the ability to, like, we're one of the only countries in the world where you can like literally change a whole generation, just like because of like education, experience, and your jobs. Like, you can literally go from poverty to like having, all sorts of different things no one ever thought possible. I mean, I'm living proof of that. Everyone in my family was working class and didn't have any future beyond that. And like, now, because I've gone to college and different things like that, there's all these like metrics and stuff that support that like my children's lives will be better and all sorts of different things like that. I mean, it is one of the greatest honors I've ever had to serve my country. But I also understand if they don't want to do it, because I don't know. It seems like we've forgotten who we are as a country. And I think we need to kind of get back to that.
So let's get to that. You started this Instagram site called Veteran with a Sign.
Yes, sir.
One of the signs that I saw that you have says, "We always seem to have enough to pay for war, but never enough to cover the cost." What do you mean by that specifically?
I mean, we seem to have an endless pile of money to fund different global conflicts that we are not involved in. And every time, like the most recent thing that's happened to Veterans Affairs and Benefits is the passing of the PACT Act. The PACT Act is the first step in getting, not mainly, just the majority of Vietnam veterans and different veterans who have toxic exposures, the benefits and treatment that they deserve, right? It's not perfect. No bill is and no thing is, but like, it's a step in the right direction. And it's taken years for this to happen. Like, we've known about toxic exposures. We know burn pits are bad. Like, everybody knows that. But like, every time it comes time to like take care of veterans or like really understand the cost of war, we seem to pull back. But we'll send trillions to different countries to support their conflicts all over the globe, and that money just appears like as if magic. But whenever the VA asks for like the smallest amount of a budget increase, or like, understanding all different things associated with that well seems to run dry the most often is been my experience. So
and so, as I said, you've got one of them behind you there saying that you're worth fighting for. Why did you start this Instagram account, Veteran with a Sign?
I mean, I served from 2007 to 11. I've, during that time, I had so many different experiences. It was really tough, and I missed my one daughter being born, and I left 2 days after another one was born, and it was really tough. So I was just trying to reintegrate. And one of the things I did while I was going to college was working at nonprofit organizations, trying to help our community best I could. And I've done that for a while, worked in for-profit, nonprofit healthcare. But during the pandemic, I've always done writing as a creative outlet. And I don't know, I thought I could make like a little goofy thing where we could like laugh and, have like nostalgia, and then like kind of start conversation and community. And it was really just like in my office, just being like, okay, I'll try this, and asking my wife to take photos of me. And it slowly over time just turned into something to where like, now I want to try and speak truth to power about like veterans, military issues and stuff, the types of things that we're facing, in order to try and like change the conversation. Like, I think we as a community are really strong. We just need to be better about the way in which we present ourselves and the way in which we speak. So like, for me, it's just like, what's the simplest thing I can do to get a message across? And so it was just a cardboard sign, and there was a lot of it that I had in my house. I just started writing on it. And that one is actually from the Sergeant Major of the Army, Sergeant Major Grinston. He signed it when I was able to interview him, and I believe it was 2021. And so that was one he held, and it was really incredible. He's the 16th Sergeant Major of the Army, and was true American, and someone I look up to a lot, actually. Even as a Marine, I got to say, I love a good soldier.
Yeah, I think you're gonna get some flack from the other Marines saying nice things.
Well, if the Marine Corps called me, I'll show up. So that's my deal.
What do you? And I don't mean to turn political, but we had there's a lot of concern about how President Biden handled this Medal of Honor ceremony last week.
Yes, I talked about it. Yeah.
And what did you think of it?
if I hadn't seen it, I wouldn't believe it. Just to be completely honest. And I made a very like truncated version of the video. Actually, no, I didn't. I uploaded the whole thing. So it's a ceremony. He left before he puts the medal on the recipient, and he leaves like literally just jets like right before the benediction, and that was highly unusual. I mean, just from my perspective, what I could see, even the audience and the press corps that's there, they seem somewhat taken back by it as well. And so my goal is like, listen, I just want to talk about like how cool this guy is, Captain Taylor, like Lieutenant Taylor at the time, like what he did, because it is crazy, like what he did. Like he was coming home from like a security patrol. He gets a call from our reconnaissance team. Hey, we're surrounded. He goes in there, puts himself in harm's way, runs dry on ammo, runs dry on fuel, tells the reconnaissance team to jet the other way. He pulls the enemy away with brights to act like he's picking them up, dips out, gets them, has nowhere on his helicopter for them, and then picks up the reconnaissance team, says, grab onto the skids, grab onto the rocket pods, we're out of here. Like, that is an incredible story, and that is uncommon valor at its highest level. I think it would have been nice if he would have stayed around.
Thank you for sharing your story with us today and the work that you're doing. I urge people to go to Instagram, Veteran with a Sign, and continue to heed the messages that you're sending out. I really applaud everything you're doing to get the word out.
Thank you, sir.
I
appreciate it.